Hello and a warm welcome back to an episode of the Wendercast, your go-to MFL weekly podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jimbo, and as always, next to me I have Calvinator. We're going to go over the latest MFL updates, transfers, developments, all the juicy stuff that's happened over the last 7 days within MFL. One important note before we get started: none of what we chat about is financial advice. Do your own scouting or hire a director of Metaverse Football. Calvinator, how you doing? You alright?
Yes, doing well. I have a lot to tell, a lot to discuss today.
Yeah.
And I'm also excited to talk to our guests.
Yes. So we've not had a guest on the pod for what seems about a month, I think, now, since Necrofries. So do you want to give a quick little intro and let our guests say a bit?
Yeah, so I had a couple of reasons why I was very keen to have this guest on. First of all, in the marketplace update, I've been saying his name a lot because of a lot of club purchases lately and player purchases. And last week we also had the nice update, the leaderboards. We can now see on the leaderboards who has the most players and most clubs. And this user also ranks as one of the highest with players and also in clubs. He has quite a lot of clubs. So I was very interested in his story. So MakeThink, welcome to the Wenderk podcast. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome aboard. We've not had a guest from across the pond on from quite a while as well, so it's nice to have an American voice join us once again. Yeah, welcome.
Yes, so later on in this episode we'll talk with you a lot about your approach to the game, your tactics, philosophy, your story, etc. So we'll put you in the spotlight, our manager spotlight, but we always start with our updates. So let's dive straight into that. First of all, the personal journey. How are we doing as managers and agents? So Jimbo, is there a little bit of a positive note? We had some lows from you. Is it a bit better?
So last week was real low because I forfeited a game by accident. Because I think you actually, it's one of your players. You cancelled. You asked for cancellation. I went, yeah, sure, and gave him back to you. And then forgot he was a starting left back, so I had to forfeit a game. I completely forgot about him in the starting lineup. But there's been a slight improvement to last week in terms of we'll start with the worst. Wyverns are still second bottom of the league. Even though we picked up a few wins, we've not really gained much because everyone else has been gaining. Just because I'm second bottom, it actually means that I'm bottom because the team in bottom has 0 points, so I'm basically bottom in my eyes, which is awful. However, we are through out of the cup group stages into the knockout rounds, which is I'm feeling quite good about. But also from a $1 million tournament point of view, that seems quite good for me because obviously there are teams in and around my sort of strength. My second team's doing much better. They're now second in their league. They're 1 point behind the leaders, and they are also in the knockouts of the cup as well. So in terms of cup performances, I'm doing pretty good. But one of my teams is doing really well in the league. The other one is, I was trying to think of some really funny thing to say here, but, I can't think of anything off the top of my head because it's actually embarrassment as to how bad my club's doing right now. It's about as useful as a car in water. I don't know, trying to think of something like that. But, yeah, abysmal, really. So I'd say, aside from leagues, if we remove the league side of Wyverns, probably a good 7.5 out of 10. But that could all change in the next 3 hours when the cup games happen. I get both my clubs knocked out.
Yeah.
But from currently, we're doing all right.
A little positive note, right? It's like there's some improvement compared to last week. Although I think for me it's a bit less than last week. I was pretty excited about some leagues and clubs. But Black Sea FC, Corsair Cove, and Aaron Calder Navigators, they were all in a title race and they all kind of messed it up a little bit. They all lost 2 or 3 games, bit unlucky. So it was not the best of weeks, and hopefully I have with one of them some kind of great escape and they still managed to win that league, the title. But they kind of gave it away a bit too much. So for me it's a bit less, but I also qualified with 5 out of 7 teams for the knockout.
Yeah, not bad.
Diamond Cup. So
out of 10?
Good.
Out of 10
Out of
for
10, 6.5 maybe, or 6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay, 6.
So, okay. MakeThink, what about you? You have 12 clubs, I saw, so quite a lot. How are they all faring this season?
Well, I've only got 9 active. I picked up a couple after transfer closed. but not bad. In League, not great, but I have been using the League to rest for the Cup, and I've done well on the Cup. 6 of 9, I think, went through. Nice. And 5 of those were in first place and sewn up before the last game. So pretty happy about that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And is it also like a part of your strategy that you prioritize Cup, or it was more like League West?
Absolutely. I mean, I see the Cup as a much better chance of getting points than a season. Seasons take forever. The points that you get are okay. But the Cups, Cups are where it's at as far as I'm concerned. I have better luck with them too.
So out of 10 then for this week, how would you
8.5. That's the silver game. That silver game that I had, my silver team in the Elites Cup, was a win and you're in. If you tie, maybe. If you lose, you're definitely out. I was down 2 goals with less than like 10 minutes to play. Ended up scoring 3 goals in 10 minutes to go on. So
it was meant to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 8.5, easy. Very happy this week.
Well, at least we've got someone who's fairly happy with their week. Calver's a bit meh, and me and Calver are sort of similar. We've had ups and downs, but at least one person in the studio is happy with their MFL week. So that's a good sign.
And maybe later in the conversation we can talk a bit about this cup prioritization. I think so far we never had someone on the pod who preferred that, but that's interesting. So maybe later we can unpack that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now dev updates time. So Jack has again kindly provided us with the TLDR. So let's go over that. So the $1 million tournament, of course, the schedule has been released, and also because of this tournament, they have optimized the competition loading to manage this huge competition with so many teams and alliances, and that of course requires a bit more work. So they worked on that a lot. Also, which is really cool, is that now your squad table, you have these enhanced multiple views, these other stats, play performance tracking. I've also already used it a little bit. It's really nice to see which players are doing well, and maybe you can now quickly pick them. So good to talk about it later too. Leaderboards, we talked about last week a lot. Show also total MFL points and league titles for clubs. Nice update there. Player progression. Team has worked on that again. Model has been improved, and they keep testing and analyzing everything. Finally, a couple other things. Patch has been deployed for the current engine to adjust the XG. It has no impact on the simulation. Speaking about the simulation, they're working on the next version for the engine to reduce the variance in match outcomes. Bit of talk about that. There's too many upsets or weird results, or it's a bit hard to get a grip on this engine, so they're trying to work on that. New competition features have been added, so to maybe make some custom competitions with a password in the future. So there will be more competitions in the future. The MFL store development keeps going on. It's now possible, well, it's technically possible to redeem MFL points there to get some players there with MFL points. But when it's really going to be possible to do that is to be decided. And finally, the next translation will be Italian. So Italian is the new language, and maybe there will be a nice marketing push for Italian users. And a little bonus update. So Ali, the developer of MFLplayer.info, the GOAT, yes. He also announced a little update. So let's do a little dev update for Ali too. So now in MFLplayer.info, you can also see if a player is on sale, with the price also, and also the current contract status. So you can see way more about each player on his amazing website.
Feed the GOAT and he will deliver. That's what I say.
So any brief reaction? What's the thing you're most excited about from this dev update?
I think it's probably quite maybe a common opinion here, or piece from dev updates, is that enhanced squad table. I mean, I've just had a brief look at it over the last couple of days, and I think I'll use it a lot more next season so I can actually track stuff properly. But the fact you can export it to a CSV is really great. So if you want to do your own sort of, nerdy spreadsheet thing, which I'm putting off till 0.6. You can do so there if it's tracking. If you went and backtracked all of your strikers' XG, for example, for each game and the amount of goals scored, and do that as like a moving average or something like that, you could get some really cool sort of, probably useless for the most part, but cool anyway. To maybe make you feel like you're a better manager if your decisions off the back of them actually work out. But I know, for example, there's one player, one of my strikers, who always misses big chances, and he has an XG of 15 and he's only scored 9 goals. So I know he's having a stinky season. So just sort of reaffirms my opinions on my beliefs on some of my players. But I'm really going to look into diving into those more. So that enhanced squad table is definitely a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, maybe I don't know if it's a coincidence, but we talked about it last week, and suddenly we get way more stats to analyze. So I don't know if that's a little Jax felt inspired, or
it's the Dirk effect, isn't it?
It's the Dirk effect.
The when Dirk patch came and did me in, and now we've got the when squad numbers. No, not squad numbers. When squad enhanced stats.
Yeah. Okay, so season update. I think we talked about last week, Jim.
What on earth happened in the Diamond League, mate? What has happened?
I know. We said we'll have a champion next week. We did get a champion, but the way that the race played out was really crazy. Yeah. Maybe, Jimbo, do you want to give a little explainer how the race played out in the last 4 or 5 games there?
Yes. So last week, I think Dio he'd won 7 and then drawn and lost 1. And we said, is he going to continue on this sort of patchy form? Lo and behold, he did. And I remember I saw in a Discord message that he was like, why have you cursed my team? We're like, sorry, yeah. you're the gaffer.
Sorry for that.
The top 3 kept changing for a couple of games, and then suddenly, I'm trying to backtrack. Hang on, backtrack to the previous match day. So we had Ballers were top, correct? Ballers were top.
Yeah.
Dio was second, and Meta Mercenaries were third. And it basically came down to the final match to who would win it. And BFC Barcelona were playing second bottom at the time. They may have been bottom, or they may have been bottom at the time, second bottom now. Eric's Londinium. Meta Mercenaries playing Tango, Big Wilbert's Diamond. And then Dio's Biscioni Milano playing OM Legends. And lo and behold, I looked at this yesterday, and I covered up the table, and then I went through the results with my thumb, and I was moving my thumb to see the scoreline of each one. And I went, Meta Mercenaries have won 3-0. I was like, and Dio's bottled it. So now it's all on this final result of what was at the time second bottom versus top. I went, surely a Ballers a BFC Barcelona win. Put my thumb down, see 0. I was like, they scored no goals. Put it down a bit further, 4-0.
Yeah, crazy.
4-0. They lost by 4-0.
You really needed 3 screens, right, to watch this kind of. Although there was one little forfeit in there, right? Did you hear that?
And this has sparked a whole debate in itself, hasn't it, about this whole forfeit piece. And I think even the second to last game, I think, wasn't it BFC Barcelona beat Meta Mercenaries 6-5 or 5-4 or something like that, which was a crazy game as well. Since when is there going to be 9 goals in the Diamond Division? That's unheard of. But yeah, it's been congrats to Meta Mercenaries, first and foremost.
Yeah, congrats to Ronan.
I'm glad it was a final day, manic 90 minutes. Or 5 minutes, really, in terms of real time. It came down to a final match day. Nothing sealed up beforehand. But yeah, just a bit of a crazy, unexpected way to win the Diamond Division, really.
Yeah, really cool. And you can clearly see these 3 big teams and their rivalry continues. And yeah, really crazy season in Diamond. Very good to watch for a neutral fan. Speaking about fans and watching the Diamond League, MakeThink, do you watch, kind of keep an eye out on Diamond League, or you focus more on your own teams and not really that interested?
I've never once paid attention to anything. I'm sorry. Those are expensive players, and I just get jealous, so I stay away.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, maybe in the future, one of your teams might be up there. and we'll be talking about your club. So that's a dream for all of us, right? We want to play in Diamond.
With progression, absolutely. I don't think I'm going to be buying my way up there, though.
No. Same, mate, same.
So hopefully, if I know you've been buying loads of talent, so hopefully there's one of those who's gonna make it to the top. But yeah, we like to talk about Diamond and kind of create a little bit of a buzz. And I think this season definitely delivered for.
See, I didn't even know Diamond was over already. I figured they had the same amount of matches that everybody else did.
Yeah,
that is interesting how it's finished so early. Yeah, I know it's because there's less teams, but how it finished this early.
Yeah. Now, like normally, I think they just had these rest days in between. And now it was, even if you have 12 teams in a league, 11 teams, 10 or 9, they just keep going. And then, some leagues finish earlier than other. So I was also a bit surprised by that. But yeah, Diamond is already over, while other leagues still have 4, 5, maybe even 6 matches to play. But yeah, anyway, really cool season, 0.5. Congrats to Ronin. And I'm sure a lot of teams are planning ahead for next season, which is another nice transition to the marketplace, because some of those Diamond managers have really been splashing some cash. So let's talk about that. First of all, shout out to some new managers, not as many as the previous weeks, but still a couple of names. So we have Pitch, Martino Brie, Poliazo, Johan B17, Ben Coates, Axel Locker 21, Gaines Clan FR, and Flofada 61. So still about 8 new users I found in the sales bot. So welcome to MFL. Also talking about active managers, Joe B's been pretty busy on the transfer market, selling and buying. A couple more legendaries for next season, definitely building their own legends. Niako, I saw him loads of times, loads of new players. I know Reply and Tingus Pingus, some new users I mentioned a couple weeks ago, are now buying high rares, so it's like mini splashes, I would call it. That they are spending like $200 to $300 on some couple high rare players, so that's interesting to see that too. Lopez, the man without clubs, but who helps BFC Barcelona, got another legendary for them. And then Fortress Agency, Ron John, I saw him buying loads of comments for 0.5 flow. That was interesting, that someone was listing for half a flow on, I don't know, Gaia or Flowverse or somewhere. And also with flow dropping in the past week. These are pretty cheap comments, actually, that someone bought. Okay, Jimbo, trade. Shall I also mention the trade and then let you do splash?
Yeah, go on, mention it, mate.
Because there was one big trade. Unity, who has been taking a hiatus, let's say, of MFL, of managing teams, but he still has some good players, and he traded one for FC Cincinnati. So Parque Ibirapuera has a new great striker, no other than Niels Urban. So Niels Urban has traded agencies and is now available for Parque Ibirapuera in 0.6. So they also have a nice boost.
Yeah.
And speaking about Diamond and big names and boosting their teams, I'll give you the floor, Jimbo.
Just clear my throat for this one. Splash of the week. Just want to say a big shout out to Lucas for making some some AI trend edit of me as some artist and I can't remember who the artist was, but I woke up one morning and just like, why am I seeing myself go down the
That was great.
It was great. But splash of the week this week, Dio, shock. Not really, we're not seeing him for a couple of weeks actually. Dio picking up, I think I pronounced this one, Malum Nyum. Cameroonian CDM, 90 overall for 999 USD. Big purchase, but one of the bigger ones we've had over the last couple of weeks. So congrats to Dio for being this week's Splash of the Week, but also just a shout out to second and third. Big Wilbit coming second. It's not really a competition, but it's coming second. With $799 for an 89 rated overall striker called Martin Solis from Chile. And then Joe B, like you mentioned, Calvo, he's been a bit active when it comes to legendary pickups, especially the young guns. He's after that progression piece and that young talent. He's building. Gerd Dorner from Austria, $775. So only a couple tens away from Big Wilbit. So we had a big week of legendaries being transferred, bought this week, probably because, season's ending soon, so they want to be making those moves, and managers realise they've got a lot of trash in their squad still and need to improve it, and vice versa. So that was this week's Splash of the Week.
Yeah, but it's really good to see, or interesting to see, like 4 diamond teams already, even 5 with Lopez's guy too. So
yes.
5 teams gotten more legendaries, more quality for their squads. So Diamond League is only going to get better with all those quality impulses, I'm sure. MakeThink, I know you're pretty active, right? I keep shouting out your name here in this segment of our show. So maybe later on you can tell us a bit more about all your, let's say, philosophy in purchasing players. What do you think of the market right now? By the way, I know you look a lot at it, I guess, or at the marketplace.
I'm a market addict. So yeah, I'm constantly on that thing. I mean, it's always great to see prices go up, but for somebody like me who's, a volume purchaser, I really prefer the prices to stay lower, at least for the, 55 to 60 range. $1 and $2 is great. $5, $6, $8, $10 for these, not a fan.
There's a couple of common purchases I see for about in the $6-10 region. I go, I'm not sure your sensible gauge was working properly there.
It wasn't that long ago we were paying $5-6 for uncommons, low uncommons, but
yeah, like beginning of the year.
Granted,
sort of
I
thing,
did buy a lot of them.
Yeah. The prices have really gone up for low uncommons, and I see now 70, 68 for like $20 or more. You see those kind of prices now.
Yeah,
and indeed,
I try to snag as many as the 20 and under and lower rank, with the idea that we're gonna try to get them some play time and see if we can't progress them a little higher. And then once they hit 65 or something, maybe put them on the marketplace. We'll see. Or they'll find a place on one of my couple of clubs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're going to talk about it in detail in a bit. Yeah. Well, we first have 2 little things. We always talk about the guy who gave his name to our podcast. I don't know if you ever asked permission to Dirk, but maybe we'll get a lawsuit for him. No, we never asked him. But let's see how he's doing. Jimbo, what do you think this week was better, worse for Dirk?
Just a little steady Eddie, really, isn't he? Doesn't really... I say it doesn't contribute much. Goals and assists, nil point. If we look at his most recent 5 games sort of piece.
I see 1 assist there.
One assist.
That,
sorry, Dirk. I've done you dirty there. You've made 1 assist in 90, 180, 270, 360, 450 minutes. Sorry, I do apologise, Dirk. He's averaging a rating of 7.7 this season, which sounds quite, not too bad for a player who's only assisted 9 and scored once. I thought maybe a bit lower than that. 7.7 is quite high, but he's a bit of a cup player. So he's got 7.3 for the league, which is sort of, you just do a decent shift each game. Nothing more, nothing less. 7.9 in Titans Cup, though, is quite nice. Although that is only 4 games, so the sample size for that isn't too bad. But, I mean, let's see what he does in a couple of weeks' time, or maybe this time next week when the cups are sold up, that sort of piece.
Yeah.
But at the moment, he's just big chilling, really. Just big chilling in there.
He's a cup fighter. He's channeling, let's say, all his energy to the cup coming up, the 4 matches
Go
there,
on, mate.
I think.
Go on, mate.
Dumb question, but Dirk is a player?
Yeah, Dirk. So Dirk is
Dirk Klaassen.
Dirk Klaassen. He's the 92 rated right mid for Meta Mercenaries. I think if you combine all of his stats together, he's either the first or the second in terms of total combined attributes. So he's basically a little bit of a beast. But the last couple of seasons, he's been quite underwhelming in his performances. So I've been wanting to, maybe we'll get Ronan on here to discuss his multiple diamond wins he gets with the Meta Mercenaries, and sort of get him to explain to us
But yeah, Dirk,
Dirk's
for
training.
people, maybe new users or people who don't know the story, is like why when the name when Dirk came like a meme, right? Because he was hiding in packs for such a long time.
Yeah.
This one of these kind of the best players in game was hiding in packs for such a long time that people kept asking when Dirk, when Dirk, when Dirk. So I thought that is a nice name for the pod. When Dirk casts, alliteration there.
But he's got he was part of the World Cup on Flow in 2022 for the Guitar World Cup. They did these like special colours, special kits. So he's got the Dutch kit on. So he came out in, I think it was either a standard or premium World Cup on Flow pack, which you could win or use points from the tournament to win to redeem. And you'd only get like 2 or 1 players in there. So you could see the players who hadn't been packed, and someone would get 1 pack, and you knew you had like a 25% or 20% chance of getting him. And I think I got one of the packs once. I think someone offered me like 50 to 100 quid from just straight off the bat. I think I only packed like a 69 uncommon, but someone was like, just in case he's in there. And then when he was released to the ecosystem, to MFL, everyone was up in raptures. So, but he's sort of like a bit of a meme player. That's a bit of background to
Dirk's story. So, final thing before we move on to the spotlight is
why Dirk. This part of the podcast, if we get any questions sent in or any statements or any rants or anything to discuss, we'll discuss them this little bit here. But what we always ask our guests, MakeThink, I'm not sure if you've listened to these parts of the podcast before or anything like that. We like to do a top 3 chocolate/candy bar, but it's not just, we're not asking for your top 3. We have a revolving top 3 where each guest gets to substitute and put in a chocolate bar into that top 3. So I'm going to tell you the current top 3 we've got from our guests, and you get the decision to remove one of those 3 positions and replace it with one of your favorite chocolate bars. If you don't have a favorite chocolate bar, think of your most recent favorite one, or what used to be your favorite one, or something along those lines. So at number 3 we have Snickers, and that has stayed there for a long time, if not I think since we first started this list. Second is Twix Peanut, which got added a couple, maybe 6 weeks ago. And then Necro Fries, who doesn't have much chocolate, he said, dropped probably the most controversial number 1 of all time, and he put Bounty at top at number 1. So MakeThink, do you have a favorite chocolate bar, or anything like that? Or if so, what is it, and where'd you like to put it in our top 3 ranking?
Can I reorder the whole thing? Put Snickers at number 1, and then get rid of Bounty, and then I would add mine, Butterfinger, at 3.
I don't think we're going to allow you to rechange it, but I'll allow you, because Snickers will still stay in there. So maybe when Snickers comes out, someone else can put it in top 1. But so
Snickers technically would be my number 1.
Well, you can get both your favorites up there then, can't you?
Yeah. But yeah, Bounty has got coconut in it, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awful. I don't know why anyone would put that with chocolate. So I'm definitely going to get rid of Bounty. Sorry if I hurt feelings, but we're going to add Butterfinger.
Butterfinger. What sort of chocolate is that? I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Well, I mean, it's a chocolate covered, but it's got, man, I don't even know what's on the inside. It's like butterscotch kind of like crumble stuff. I don't know. It's good. It's been around since I was a kid. I remember
I'm just looking at it now. Yeah, quick.
Simpsons and Bart Simpson. Don't lay a finger on my Butterfinger. Or I don't
know. Is that what that's referring to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've ever had these before.
We learned something. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I love learning a different variety of chocolates from around the MFL community. That's what I love hearing.
Over there in Europe, but like Cadbury's big, right?
Yeah. Cadbury's the big conglomerate of chocolate over here. Yeah.
I like their eggs.
Well, like the cream eggs or the
yes.
No, the cream eggs. See, that's usually like quite a divider in the UK anyway. People sometimes they like the chocolate but don't like the inside, or they don't, or vice versa. People just like eat them.
Just give me a gallon of what they put on the inside. I'd be happy.
I don't even know. I don't want to know how much sugar's in that little piece there. It's probably like the worst substance known to man in terms of
all
health.
Sugar. I don't know if there's anything else in it.
And then, so we're putting Butterfingers at number 1, so replacing Bouncy. And just because Calvinator wants to be included in this sort of segment as well, Calvinator loves vegetables,
Definitely.
vegetables. Do you have a favourite vegetable that Calva can sort of relate to?
Bonus question.
Okay, raw or cooked?
Oh, well, usually we ask for your favourite vegetable, and then sometimes we just ask the guest, like, how many different methods do you have of cooking said vegetable?
Too much memes.
I think we had about 20 for Brussels sprouts once, or like 15. I want them to name all of them, but I thought it'd be a bit of a,
But just say what's your favorite one? Like,
I mean, my favorite raw vegetable is a carrot, but as soon as they're cooked, I can't stand them.
Interesting.
I agree with this. Yeah.
So have you got a favourite raw and a favourite cooked then?
Favorite cooked would be green beans.
Green beans.
Nice.
Yeah, but I like them roasted.
Also good.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
See, good choices here. Good choices.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree with all those choices.
Asparagus is also phenomenal. Brussels sprouts are great. I like a lot of vegetables.
Nice. I think you've done the MFL. I think you've done the MFL community a solid here by removing Bounty. So I think all the listeners will be very thankful for you MakeThink for that decision.
Getting rid of Bounty.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you for your input there. And now let's put you in the spotlight as a manager. And our usual, let's say, our question is always, what's your MFL story? So how did you find out about the project? When did you join? Why? Maybe what attracted you to the project? Could you tell us a bit more about that?
I first started with the NFTs and Flow with Top Shot, which I think most people probably did. Played around with that for about a year after seeing articles about LeBron James moment selling for $100,000. It definitely piqued my interest.
And then about £100 the next month.
Yeah, I was an 80s kid collecting baseball cards. That's where I got my start with collecting. And as soon as digital collectibles was a thing, thought, genius, let's get in on that. So I eventually found Flunks, which I am one of the largest holders of Flunks. I've got like 400 of those. Probably should have diversified a little sooner, but because of Flunks, though, I think it was Air of Grace was asking to put together a team with a team of Flunks in one of the seasons. It was about to start. I think it was season 1, and I'm curious. I went to take a look, and I think it was like 2 days before a pack drop. So I got my first pack, got a pretty good player, I think like an 80.
Nice.
And so that just kind of hooked me. And, I picked up my first club, which I believe was Iron with Verona. And, I rebadged them, kept the name, and we did pretty well. I think Verona's got a couple of... I know it's the highest ranked Iron team at the moment. And, being a marketplace addict, I just picked up deals when I thought they looked like deals when they hit the marketplace. Not as much looking up stuff ahead of time, making sure I was making right decisions. I was more on emotion and really just learning the game. Like, I would change all the filters and just buy the lowest priced player that had this particular rating. Like, his pace was over 80, even though he was a 50 player. Stuff like that. And then eventually I started really kind of understanding how the game worked and started making better decisions. And that's when I eventually got onto this. Well, if we're going to have player progression, we've got a ton of these low-ranked players that never see any playing time. Let's snap up a bunch of stone clubs and put them to work, and let's get them progressed. So if I waited on that, I probably would have been paying a lot more money. So I'm glad I jumped in on that when I did, because the marketplace is definitely a little different in the last month. Yeah. So as far as like, I was not a soccer fan or football fan. Yeah. I've watched a few World Cups, more the women's team because our men's team kind of sucks.
Yep.
And yeah, and then my daughter started playing, so I got a little bit of interest there watching them play. But now she's playing college, so I just kind of use this as a way to teach me more about the rules of soccer, because quite honestly, I had no idea about formations, player, positions, and what would be important for a center mid as opposed to like a striker. Do you want someone who's fast in the center mid, or do you want someone who's going to have more longevity? Like, learning all of that kind of stuff is, it's taken some time, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because it's exactly what I wanted in an NFT, is something to do kind of like every day.
Yeah.
And this has definitely been that. I mean, it's been keeping me busy for sure.
Have you ever thought about letting your daughter actually manage one of your clubs?
I bet she'd be great at it, to be quite honest. But I don't know that I can bridge the gap of NFT and it's
I know what you mean. Yeah.
My wife calls NFTs Coles Cash, because it's completely, it makes no sense to her.
Yeah.
I've always, I got into the Top Shot and all day, thinking that they would gamify it at some point.
I think
And I don't know
everyone
if
thought that, didn't
I've been
they?
out of
Yeah.
it for a couple, like a year or more now, but no, it just was not enough gamified, and this is very gamified, so it's a blast.
Okay, so yeah, you already talked a bit about your kind of strategy and approach in terms of buying players, that you are buying kind of the common younger players. What about tactics and formations and playing the game itself? What is like your approach to that? Are you like a big data guy, or more like intuition, or how do you approach that?
How do I approach? I guess, like, I don't have a very good system yet. I I don't think I've done well with 3-back or 5-backs. So most of my teams are going to be playing a 4-back. I have yet to really figure out how making adjustments helps. It seems to hurt anytime I do anything. So I've been just leaving those at at balanced, and not moving much around. The biggest problem I have is the fact that if I try to play the same team in different formations and against the same team, I get such wildly different results. It's hard to tell if what I've done is helpful or it has hurt me. So I just don't have enough time to run 10 simulations of the same game to get a better, data. So
Yeah.
I've just kind of gone on intuition. I do have a spreadsheet that I keep track of results. If any of my players in particular score over 8, I write it down. I like to write down the formation of which I'm playing against, my formation. I keep track of whether I think I should win or should lose or tie, and see, if I underperform or overperform. Like, I definitely had one overperformance against Quantum Strike, the first game of the season, and against, I think it was my Botafogo team, and the dude quit.
Oh yeah,
Sold his team and players and was gone.
Also interesting, like a couple of things you said, like in the dev updates too, the team is gonna look at a new engine with a bit less variance. I think Sturgeonator, he even made a test with like 200 games, and he didn't see any conclusive details like from those tests. It was still a bit inconclusive, let's say. So yeah, the engine seems a little bit all over the place. With you can have from like a huge upset to you beating that team. So that's maybe a bit hard to grasp, and that's also what Jimbo and I keep saying. Like, yeah, maybe each time there's a new engine, and it's maybe too much testing is also not good, right? Because it keeps changing. So,
I mean, this is still like a coin flip game, essentially, right? So every interaction, it's a flip of the coin to see what happens. I mean, granted, you may have a little bit more. The better the player, the better chance that the coin flip's going to end up on your side. But I mean, that's still what it is, right? So there's going to be a lot of randomization, I guess. So like teams that should definitely win don't always win, which is good. I mean, that's what you want. It's real life.
Yeah, that's But it's just I say it a lot on the pod. It's frustrating because it's a zero sum game. If you win, I lose. You get happy, I get pissed off, and if that happens more often than not, I get really angry and you get really happy, and then next season that swaps around. So it's definitely the last season I was doing really well with my clubs. Wyvers, I think we won the division last season. We won one of the cups last year, and now we're second, we're essentially bottom of the division this year. So it's a roller coaster of emotions is MFL.
Yeah, and it's really about balancing that, right? So it's about it should, of course, we need to have upsets, not too much, and you shouldn't like this one guy quit after one upset. He can have 2 or 3 even in a row. I mean, it can happen with those coin flips, as you said. So, and overall, in the end, you'll get probably a pretty fair result based on your team and tactics. And we're still, of course, alpha and testing, so that's good to keep in mind, of course. So I think you also mentioned already some kind of lessons then that you learned this season. Or would you say there's another thing you learned in 0.5 or in the past, in this season, that will help you next one?
Well, this season I tried to do something a little different than what I did the last previous seasons. I really added to my rosters over the off season, so I had quite a few players and teams to kind of move things around and figure out how I wanted to do stuff. So I went with a team A, team B on every roster to make it easy. When I do substitutions, it's the entire team subbing. That may not be the best tactic going forward, especially when they start doing injuries, because I don't know how we're going to deal with injuries, to be quite honest. Like if I've got a 19 or 20 person team and somebody gets injured and we're not doing transfers, like I guess that's just going to be the end of the season for that team, So I definitely will need to change how I do that once we start doing injuries and progression and everything. I'll probably pick one formation and just put enough players on there in case I do end up having to play somebody because of an injury. I'll be honest, that injuries have got me laying awake at night because I spend $150, and I know that's nothing compared to what some people do. But on a player, and to have them injured, like, first couple of games or something, oh man, it just kind of it hurts a little in my stomach. But it's part of the real soccer. So, it needs to be in there at some point. But doing team A, team B, probably not going to be feasible going forward, but it worked out so far this time. Since I've had so many teams, it was just easier to be able to swap just the whole team instead of trying to find which one's going to be this and which one's going to be that. And then I can have it set up for 3 or 4 games be set up ahead of time. But if I'm just doing when they get tired, then I have to do it every single game, and it was just too much work for 9 teams. And now that I got 12, and hopefully want to add at least 3 more stone, because I got a lot of commons that need to play. Yeah. So we're just gonna call them all Commons Farm or Common Farms.
Common Farm.
And then it'll be the city, but we're gonna keep the same logo for everything.
Just because
that's what I'm planning on doing, just farming them those players, those commons, get them up to uncommon. Maybe I'll find one of those 1 or 2% that jump 15 points or more. This sounds like fun. I mean, I figure I bought enough. I should have at least 1 or 2 of them, right?
Yeah, you've increased your probability there. So you've done that bit well, yeah.
Well, part of it was just luck. I mean, timing, getting those getting those commons when they were cheap. I don't think I would have done it today.
But that's also interesting about your full rotation. Like, it's kind of a debate. How do you approach fatigue? Some people do the full rotation. I'm a bit more like a continuous rotation with I have 3 strikers for 2 positions, and I keep rotating those 3. But a full swap is very nice indeed. What you said before, that you prioritize cup, then you do a full swap in the league. They're all super fit for the cup again. So
the problem is you got to have a deep team the whole way, because when you swap to that second team, if you drop more than I figured 10%, then it's really, you're hurting yourself, I feel like. But with all the players that I've got and all the clubs that I've got, I figure I can spread those out a little bit better and substitute, like you were talking, 3 strikers if you've got 2, and work on them a lot more. But it's going to require a lot more time. But, it's worth it. It's fun.
Yeah, that's my current strat at the moment, is similar to yours, MakeThink's, where I will, for the most part, I'll fully swap the lineups out. That probably changes in a couple of seasons' time when we get our substitutions and things, right? Because you can, a player at the moment is fatigue level is based on their physical stat and how many minutes they've played. But if they're only playing 60 minutes a game, that's 30% in theory, whatever, less, fatigue decrease. So,
speaking of theory,
yeah, go on.
When do you actually substitute? What percentage? Because it doesn't seem to me very noticeable. I played against a team that was all orange, a couple of them in red, and they're still scoring goals on me. And I'm thinking, I've got a fresh team and higher ranked. When does it really noticeable? When is the drop off really happening?
Yeah,
this is along with the forfeit debate over the last couple of days. This has also been quite a topic on the Discord within the last week or so, I think. However, you probably say you've noticed it as well, maybe. If I'm going to be honest with you, MakeThink, it's, I guess, the cop-out answer is all subjective when you rotate out players. I preferably do it when I hit about 92, 93 before the game, like sort of I won't let them play on 92, 93. That's just personal preference, because my brain is wired to say, if I lose that next game because of that, that's the immediate reason why. But to answer the second part of the question with regard, what fatigue level does it really hinder players and their performances? I ain't got a Scooby, because I had a game recently. I only just won it by 1 goal, but I should have romped the hell out of them. And I was like, what is going on here, fellas? And they went 1-0 up, and I was like, I had to equalise with a penalty as well. It wasn't even just an open play. I was like, crikey, what's going on here? So I don't really know. I think it's one of those that maybe there's so many games being simmed and played that we get 2 or 3 games a day where there's a fatigue side winning or drawing, but actually behind the scenes there's 30 occasions that we don't hear about where they've been absolutely smashed, and that's just how it usually works, really, isn't it? You hear about the bad things rather than the good things. But yeah, I agree that recently it felt like, from other people in the community as well, that there's been a little bit of an opinion on whether or not fatigue hits home at particular levels less than it should do.
What I think would help, even if it's at 92% and I select that player, is his overall drops to whatever he is actually playing at. So if he's, at 92, he's 8% less than what his overall should be, right? So that should be noticeable when I select him in tactics. So instead of it being a 80 player, he's playing in at, 78 or something, 77 or something like that. Whatever 8% off of 80 is. I'm not doing math.
I've completely, my brain is frozen here. Is that how fatigue works then, Calva?
I don't know if it is.
We don't know. We don't know how it works.
Because we know, is it the same? Does it affect the player the same way that the positional piece does? Where if you're not in a position, it takes -5 of all the stats. if they are, like you said, 80% MakeThink, is it a 20% reduction in those stats? If that's the case, then we can understand it, and you can do a bit of maths and you can figure out, I'm actually playing a 55 rated team today. Because, it's an interesting one, because if it's an 80 rated player, 20%,
But this
whatever.
this was part of the debate. We don't know this. It's like a secret kind of how much it really affects. The only clues we have are these texts, and I think Eric, and Frajoko and me today also complained a little bit about this in the chat. Like, it really seems that fatigue teams are doing better than in the last season, 0.4. And then if you look at orange stacks, it was like kind of severely fatigued and really impacting the match. And then they win. So that is like, how does that match up, right? So I think that's what the debate is about. Is it like, maybe we should really look into that, like these upsets with red cards. Seems a red card maybe also doesn't affect too much. So yeah, something to look into, I agree. Or it could be a bit more transparent with that overall, as you suggest. I think that then the overall keeps dropping. Or a little bit more insight. What does the color means or something.
Or do we just need to change our expectations of what fatigue is like?
Or their pace drops, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what would keep you. I mean, if you're tired, you're not going to run as fast. And that's pace, right?
Yeah, technically, you still could have the same kind of shooting, but you cannot run as fast. But you could still place it well or finish it well.
I don't know. Shooting with rubber legs, you're tired. I think you're gonna have pretty poor shots too. Any idea what they plan on doing with the rest of the Stone teams? I think we got they did 700 and something of them, and we sold
756. I don't know.
But I mean, there needs to be some supply for new users coming in to buy the stone pack. So it's a good situation, I think, that there is still a supply there and also some iron teams on the marketplace. And when that fills up, I think you need to add another layer. Like when the supply almost runs out, you need to add another tier.
Yeah, I think they'll probably stay there until they're sold out. So the original clubs. They got released in October 2022, and the final club pack, which was the starter one, sold in April or May last year, and there was like 200 of them left, or 100 of them left for like months, and then suddenly within like a week, once people started realising they were going and everyone had FOMO, I wanted to get one before they went, sort of thing. But I think, it's nice to have them as starter packs for some of the entry-level users. But they'll eventually get... I don't think they'll get resold out, I don't think.
Do you think $79.99 is the right price for a Stone club?
Ooh,
for a new person to come in?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. I think Cavalry probably response will be, it's to an extent the same price as a FIFA or Football Manager game that you'd pay year on year. So maybe I don't know what the pound dollar conversion rate, but in pounds it's similar. But I think if you were to, I don't think I'd want any more than that. I think probably be my answer to that question. I wouldn't want it to be any more than, is it $79.99 at the moment, something like that? Yeah, I don't think I'd want it any more because maybe that gets a little bit off. Well, it depends. In England anyway, that would be off-putting.
I'd like to see him like $20 less, just because I want to see more common players in Stone, And I feel like if we got more Stone teams out there, then you kind of have to put more commons on the field.
Yeah, and we'll give the commons more playing time also and usability. So,
like, I mean, really, who's putting a 40 on their team right now in Stone? Like, I don't run into many.
Someone who plans on being bottom.
I think there was one experiment. I don't know which manager that like to try to get the results with like the lowest common team possible. I think someone was trying that experiment, but that's the only case I know. Yeah, I don't think there's people playing below 50, 55 maybe. Yes. Okay, and we have a question for you from Necrofries, who is our previous guest, and then after that we'll ask you what would be your question for our next guest. So Necro asked, how do you see MFL in 2 years' time? What do you think it will be like, the whole project? Any clues?
2 years from now, that's a long time. How many seasons would that even be?
Loads.
Like 12? Do we do 6 a year?
they average about between like 5 to say 6 weeks. I think is a season length, but then maybe like a week between those for like No Man's Land or something like that. So yeah, just say 12. I'd be happy with saying 12.
I mean, yeah. It is a tough question. Obviously, I would love to see it 3 or 4 times as big. Lots of people playing, a very active marketplace. I mean, that really, it's the worst thing for NFT is to have a dead marketplace. Like, I'd love to see action, people buying, people selling. So, I would be very happy if things are similar, but we've got everything in place. Players are progressing. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to give me something to do every day, and that's really all I was ever looking for when it came to NFTs. It's just something to do with them because you can look at them and all, but it's fun to be able to play them. So
yeah,
that's all I want.
Okay, so just a bit more, I would say organic growth, more users, still that active marketplace, that gaming experience every day, and just steady development.
And apparently basketball, so.
And basketball, yes. A whole metaverse sports association umbrella, let's say, over all those sports. If all those sports in there, would be nice. Yes. Jimbo, do you have more questions, or do you think
no,
it's a nice time?
Just to ask MakeThink for his question.
Oh yeah, sorry, forgot that. What's your question for our next guest? Are you curious about something?
We don't know who the next guest is, and you don't know who the next guest is.
It's a surprise.
So take that into consideration. But what would you like to ask them? Anything. Could be, well, obviously MFL related to an extent.
Let's see. Okay. Would you rather just purchase off the marketplace or do trades with people? I don't have very good bartering skills, apparently, because all of my trades have not really worked out for me so much as for the person who got what they wanted. So I gotta be a little better at saying no.
Should we extend the question out then and say, would you rather purchase marketplace or trades? If trades, what is your best piece of advice for negotiating bargains?
There you go. Yeah,
there we go.
Good question.
Yeah.
Could be.
Sorry, does that sound good? I'll write that down. Does that sound good?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That works for me.
So you basically want to know. Is one of Trump's books, isn't it? Like Art of the Deal or something like that. You want to know how to bet. You want to know the art of the MFL deal. Basically.
I don't want to bankrupt my team. I'm sorry.
Just get a loan of $1 million.
Yeah.
Great question.
Okay, so a bit more about trading or buying, and then maybe a follow-up about bartering or trading or bargaining, things like that, like trading skills.
My biggest problem is somebody will come to me and say, hey, I want this player because he's from this country. And I'm like a collector myself. So I'm like, sure, let's try to get you that guy because, you want everybody from Italy or whatever. And then I kind of lose sight of like, maybe I should try to get something better for me since he's the one wanting my guy. But yeah, whatever. I've been lucky enough to get some pretty good deals off the marketplace. So I know I've traded some guys off based more on what I paid for them instead of what they're worth.
I have the same experience. Like it's such a nice community and talking to users, and you want to help them, and you're pretty empathetic. And then sometimes when you look back at that deal, you're a bit like, yeah, I kind of lost maybe a little bit in terms of value there, but it's nice to help people, and that's great about the community too. Yeah,
and maybe that'll be good for me down the road. And when I want to make a trade with them again, I'll get the better deal. So
you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That sort of piece.
Yeah.
But at the moment, you're just giving out scratches, basically.
It seems like it.
I think we've got a great hashtag for today's episode. Hashtag scratch my back. So if you get to this part of the podcast, and all of you do so many times in the Discord or Twitter as well. Let's get some on X as well. Hashtag scratch my back. Let us know that you've got this far. Hashtag scratch my back. I I think, Calvin, this will probably wrap it up here. I think we've come to a nice point in the podcast. So, MakeThink, do you have anything you want to leave off on before we depart from today's recording?
Just a shout out to my Steel City Alliance. Hopefully we do good this tournament.
Bloomin' heck, we've not even mentioned the alliances. Oh, crikey, we've had a fumble here, Calvin. We've not even mentioned the alliances.
Well, it's going to kick off next week. I think we'll talk about it way more. And then we can talk about the Wendurk Alliance, how we are doing, and how Steel City is doing, and Quito, and all the other ones.
All the different alliances, I'm super looking forward to that tournament. But yeah, MakeThink, thank you so much for coming on episode 34 of the Wendurk cast. You enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, more than welcome, mate. Calvin, any final words?
Nope.
Spot on, mate. Well, there you go, everyone. Hashtag scratch me back, scratch my back, scratch me back, scratch my back, however you want to put the word me, depending on your accent and dialect. But thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you this time next week for an episode of the Wendurk Cast. Thank you very much for listening.